What are you doing to our cat? Hi, welcome to the latest episode of Halfway Planet, and today we're talking money, for I speak no other language.
That is so not true.
It's not, we're poor. And that's not true either. But when we were in the United Kingdom, we found ourselves having to use cash for the very reason, well, you explain the reason. Why did we use cash?
Because whenever we used our card, there would have been a fee.
Like a bank fee. Kind of.
Yeah, an international fee for the percentage as opposed to just a set amount of whatever it was that you used it for. So, for example, we bought coffees every day, which we did most days that we were there, at least once.
You needed to.
But either way, we bought coffees pretty much every day that we were in the UK. And every time that we use our card, we would have had a percentage fee for however much the coffee was for.
But today, because of that, we actually came home with a lot of British cash. So we thought, what better opportunity than now to do a comparison of British and American money. So, without further ado, let's make a deposit. I'm so sorry about that.
So the first one that we have is the $20 bill.
And the £20 note.
So notes versus bills, and you can see they're both for 20.
Naturally speaking, and you'll find this with all of the sort of British currency, you will find the head of the Queen on there. It's not, she hasn't been decapitated, it's just a bust. You know, the head bust, not the other kind. And that's, like I said, that's throughout all the money. But one thing that British money has in common is it doesn't just have the Queen's head on it, but it has some other faces on it as well. So if I turn this round, has the profile of Mr. Adam Smith.
On the $20 bill, we have Andrew Jackson. Anyway, we mostly have just presidents or founding fathers on ours.
In Ben Franklin's case. I think an interesting thing as well, let's just do a size comparison. I know size isn't everything, but look at that. I think you'll find, actually, well, this one's wider and this one's taller. So they're about equal in many ways. Who cares anyway?
Well, they're not quite equal. I think right now, at the time of filming, it is $1.27 to a pound.
Yeah, well, yeah, in terms of the exchange rate, they're not equal. That's definitely for sure. Let's go down in descending numerical order, and I should point out we don't have any $100 or $50 bills or pound notes, just because we can't afford them. But the next one is a $10 bill. Something that I noticed instantly about the $10 bill and the $20 bill, and just sort of all American bills, is there's kind of a gremliness to them. I had to get that word in there. They're all of a certain colour. There are some different shadings and different colourings on them. Whereas the British money, the difference is quite noticeable, I think, throughout. So you have, this is the £10 note, you have sort of orangey colours on that one and a purple colour on that one.
They're all kind of pastel-y, though.
Yes. Yeah, I suppose so.
The British money is.
Yeah, and on this one, as of quite recently, we have Miss Jane Austen right there on the back of it. I think she's quite new. She was added, in the last 5 years, I think.
Sounds right.
Yeah, but here's an interesting comparison. The further down, the smaller we get, the smaller the banknotes get as well. So now the $10 bill is absolutely destroying the £10 notes. I've never really thought about that before, but it is true. We do shrink down the bill.
Another new feature that I quite like about some of the smaller money is that you can actually see through it. And what is it made out of?
It's made out of polymer. This is a new feature for, I think it's the 10 and the £5 note. This polymer feel is very shiny. It's very hard to tear this in half. And also you could, in theory, put it in the washing machine and it would be absolutely fine. At least that's what I'm told. Haven't tried it yet. Maybe I'll take that risk somewhere down the line. And speaking of somewhere down the line, I think we're moving on to the next one. Oh, look, it's another green bill. So yes, all the major American bills do carry that tendency. This one, of course, who have we got on the front of that? It's Mr. Abraham Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
The last one was Hamilton, by the way.
Oh, yes, we didn't mention President Hamilton.
President,
Not
wow.
a president, another founder. Whereas ours has obviously the Queen, again, on the front, but you turn it around. Who've we got? Oh, it's Winston Churchill. Say hello to that. So, oh, look at that. Churchill and Lincoln. That would have been a dream team of sorts. depending on your politics. So, and this one, again, this one actually more goes along with your colour scheme, doesn't it? Sort of bluey green, but
still very pastel.
It is, and it is a tad smaller than the £10 note, and of course very much smaller than the $5 bill.
Here, you hold it up.
I don't remember from memory, because that's how you remember things, whether all of the American bills are exactly the same size. Could you pass me a couple of those?
I think they are.
Just do a quick look.
I mean, here's the 20 and the 10 and the 5.
They're the same size.
Yeah.
They're the same size. So that's definitely a difference I'd not considered. Actually, until we started making this video right now. We did have a list of things we wanted to cover, but that was not one of them. So bonus. Okay, let's move on to our next value, as we just said. So you do have the dollar bill. Again, it fits that same size as all of the other sort of American bills. I'm not going to bring out a note here. I'm going to bring out a coin. Right there, we have a pound coin. We don't actually have notes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was reading about that recently. Something I should say about this is, in fact, the pound coin did not look like this when I last lived in the United Kingdom. It was just a gold coin. There was no sort of silver middle part to it. But what I should say, and you don't really have an equivalent of this, here is a coin that represents £2 sterling, and they're kind of brother and sister. Look at that. They've both got the sort of gold and silver thing. And the £2 coin always had that. In my lifetime, this was introduced, and it always had that sort of gold ring to it with the silver in the middle. The pound didn't, but I think they've tried to marry them up. The only thing I would say, though, is if you look very closely, this isn't completely round. There's sort of some edges to it, whereas the £2 coin is entirely circular. So it's little things like that that just filled my heart with nerdy joy.
Now, there did used to be $2 notes.
Oh, did there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they've gone away.
Right. I don't remember the last time that I had one. I think, and then they were still pretty much obsolete. You could still use them as money, but I'm pretty sure I had a few of them in high school that would go into circulation and out of occasionally.
But now that we've got past the $1 amount, I think we're going to get into the coins on the US side, aren't we?
So you don't have an equivalent of this one, but this is the quarter, and you can see it has Washington on the front of it, and this is actually a special edition quarter. So on the back it has one of the 50 states, and I think in this one, it's 2017, it has Missouri on it. So yeah, the Ozarks, Missouri, but every state has one of those quarters.
And just for our non-American viewers, how much is a quarter?
25 cents.
Right there. So yeah, we do not have an equivalent coin in the United Kingdom to denote 25 pence. We do have the 20 pence, but before we get onto that, I want to hold up a coin we're going to get to here in just a minute that's quite like the quarter. In fact, it's almost exactly like it, isn't it? Let's get a little closer. This is the 10p. I suppose I've shifted around a bit here, so we'll cover this now. This is the 10 pence coin. Roughly the same size. I thought, can we just hold those next to each other?
Because I used to get them confused all the time.
The only difference is, you may not be able to see it here, but the 10 pence is actually slightly thicker than the quarter. Obviously different value, but the closest thing we have in value, I suppose, to the quarter is the 20 pence. It's actually a 7-sided coin, the 20 pence. But you know what? I actually skipped one, and the reason I skipped one is because you don't really have an equivalent of this in American money. This is kind of like the midway point, I suppose, between 0 and $1, or a pound in this case, and it's the 50 pence coin. And the 50 pence, just like the 20 pence, also has 7 sides. It's just quite a bit bigger. I always liked this one. It was easy to find in your pocket at any one time. And I'm glad to see they haven't changed the 50 pence. You know what, though? I think they might used to have been bigger. What's the next coin on the American list?
Is not the smallest in number, but certainly the smallest in size, and that is the dime. The dime has 10 cents, and it has Franklin Delano Roosevelt, president, on it.
Very interestingly, this actually brings me on to my next coin, since we've already covered the 10 pence. But once again, we have a coin that's not dissimilar to the dime. Let's hold them up closer. This is the 5 pence coin. You're probably starting to see a trend here. If we have a coin that's like America's, it's probably worth less. And something else I should say, and I didn't say this about all of the coins, is you don't have any other sort of peripheral figures, if peripheral's the right word, but you do have the Queen on the back of all of these. And yeah, very much like the dime, and I've often confused them, in fact, because we did have a few of these kicking around after we moved to the US, and I think I once got away with using one of these in a shop here in the US.
Oh, I've done it so many times I can't count anymore. I can't count.
You get that because it's numbers like this.
Okay, wow.
It's crazy.
So we have Jefferson on the nickel, and the nickel is worth 5 cents. And this is a new edition nickel. I want you to look at it because it's got Jefferson, but he's kind of like facing you, and it's a little bit creepy.
Let's have a look. He's a bit of a handsome man, though, isn't he? Oh, it is creepy.
Yeah, it's not. I love these things though. I like the new nickel. I'm partial to it over the old one. But yeah, if you look at it in a certain way, it kind of looks like he's looking at you. One common theme that you'll see on both some notes and some of the coinage is that on the backs of some of these, then you have the monuments that go along with them. So in this case, Monticello is on the back, which is what Jefferson's house was. But then also on the $5 note, on the back, you have the Lincoln Memorial.
We are down to the penultimate coins, and in this case we're talking about the sort of coppery coloured coins. That might sound odd to an American, hearing that the copper coins are in the sort of penultimate section, because there's only one in the US, whereas there are 2. Let's get our coins up and let's do a bit of compare and contrast. What have you got there, love?
Mine's very, very shiny. It's a penny.
It is, and another way of putting that is what? A cent.
A cent.
1 cent.
Yeah, 1 cent.
Whereas, well, I'm going to get my biggest one out first. Coin, don't get worried. And it's this thing. It's much bigger than that.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
It's slightly worth more, but only just. This is the 2 pence coin. It's quite an old one, I think. This used to be as sort of shiny as the one Tara has there.
Don't you think the 2 pence coins are starting to go out of fashion a little bit?
Well, I think all cash is, for the most part.
That's true.
But in both countries, I think that we're moving away from sort of cash usage towards sort of cards or contactless payment in the UK. But nonetheless, since we do have it, it's interesting to do a comparison. This very 2p coin is very special to me. It's from 1981. It's the year I was born. This is as old as me.
It is.
How old's that one? What does it say?
2016.
So
it's a baby.
It is a baby, but I do have quite a new one, and these can be friends. They're almost the same size. I think the 1p coin is actually slightly bigger than the cent, but this was made in 2016 as well.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that. They're blood brothers, just without the blood or the gender. What about in America? Do you think America is moving toward, or has moved toward, a sort of cashless society to some extent?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you think about just the way that we go through our daily lives, we use our card for pretty much anything. I don't remember the last time that I got money out that wasn't for this video or just for like our weekly laundry.
Yeah, the one exception you might point out is some cities, including Chicago, is quite big on this. A lot of restaurants and places like that do weirdly stick to this sort of cash only rule, but they're more the outlier, I think, in this particular scenario. And so, what are the alternatives? Well, like we said, in Britain, they've mostly moved, a lot of people have moved to this sort of contactless method of payment that you can achieve through your phone if you're going to purchase
literally
something.
Just scan it.
Don't touch anything, and that's supposed to be a secure way of doing things. It's not really taken off yet, that in the United States, but there are movements toward doing so just this year, I think, in banks across the East Coast and beyond. So that should be interesting to see if that comes about. Thank you for joining us for this video today. It was very nice to hold this amount of money in our hands. It doesn't happen often. What are you doing to our cat? Okay, we will see you soon. Bye. Thank you for watching this episode of Lost in the Pond. Don't forget to hit my stupid little face to subscribe, and please share this video with the world. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and if you would like to support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond.